The King K Rool obsession. I myself am someone that is King K Rool obsessed. And so as a fan, I wanted to make this video because I wanted to talk about how King K Rool might be one of the most unintentional magic in a bottle situations we could have ever had. So to start this conversation off, let's go all the way back to the beginning with Donkey Kong Country. Now for a lot of us that are K Rool obsessed, this is where our journey began. The first game that King K Rool was in. And a lot of us were younger and at that perfect age where the games that we played as a kid kind of got cemented into our heads. But what also helped this is that Donkey Kong Country would go on to be one of the most legendary games that was made. From the jump of graphics between the NES and the Super Nintendo, the way the game looked in general on the Super Nintendo, the character designs, the enemy designs, those pre-rendered graphics I believe they call them, the grand adventure the game was overall, the hidden secrets in there, the music, the freaking music. Woo! David Wise is the man. I don't know how he came up with such a perfect song for an underwater level. The guy's a genius. But playing this game, especially at a younger age, where these games are going to become nostalgic for you, and with the game being so incredible with all the stuff I listed off earlier, along with playing this at a younger age, that concoction created one of the most spectacular boss fights. You go onto K Rool's ship, and you're running up, and you hear that music. And then you see him. King K Rool. His design is so good. And so you run up to him, and you don't even know what to expect. This is the first time you're seeing the guy. He throws his crown, it works like a boomerang, you jump on his head, and you hear a noise that is, in my opinion, the greatest enemy hit noise in video game history. It's perfect. K Rool himself is pretty goofy, and that sound effect is so perfect for him. So you go through this boss fight with this amazing music, and just when you think you're done, the credits roll, and you start reading them. I played this at a time when I could not read them, but you start reading them, and you realize, I don't think this fight is done. I think that for most of us, when we played this as a kid, we had no idea that this was a fake out. And then all of a sudden, the credits stop, the camera moves, and K Rool's getting back up. And now you're in a scramble because you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta still play and I don't even know what's gonna happen. But then after that, you finish that sequence, and then you actually defeat King K Rool. So after all of that, you're probably thinking, well, there's no way they're gonna top this. Well, then the following year, Donkey Kong Country 2 comes out, and boy did they top it. In my opinion, they topped the whole thing. You now have the introduction of Dixie Kong, who is one of my favorite Kongs. You have new animal buddies, you have old animal buddies. The music, again, freaking incredible. Sticker brush, bush, however you want to call it, masterpiece. David Wise again, proving he's a genius. So you go through this whole game, and then all of a sudden, you're running up, and there's Donkey Kong, all tied up. And I don't know if this happened for anyone else, but I did want to throw in this video that when Donkey Kong is stuck in the rope, and he makes that noise, I don't know why, but multiple times it's given me chills. I want to just throw that out there because I'm curious if anyone else has had that happen. But anyway, after seeing Donkey Kong tied up in this rope, you start doing your victory dance, you think you're saving Donkey Kong. But nope, that's where the first fake out happens. K Rool lifts him up, and he takes him into his helicopter thing. So then when you get to this K Rool boss fight, I really like the first one in Donkey Kong Country, but if I had to pick a favorite, I think it is this one. The introduction of K Rool having his blunderbuss and using it to move around on the ground is awesome. During this boss fight, he's still faking out being defeated. Donkey Kong comes down. K Rool gets back up. Donkey Kong's eyes, boom, they just shoot out. He gets hoisted back up, and you gotta keep fighting. So then after getting K Rool to fall down multiple times, Donkey Kong wiggles out and breaks through the rope, and then he just freaking shoryuken and just punches K. Rool right in through the friggin' helicopter, and he falls down, and he falls into the water, which is apparently shark infested. And you think, well, he just got eaten alive by sharks. He's gotta be done. But you'd be mistaken, because when you get enough Krem coins, you go to a bonus world, and you fight K. Rool again. And this time around, it feels like K. Rool really means business. He's had enough of the shenanigans. But when you inevitably defeat him in this fight, you have one of the coolest scenes on a Super Nintendo game. I don't know how they pulled this off on the Super Nintendo, but in this amazing cutscene, you see K. Rool sailing off, and you hear him laugh. So you know, he's still not done. So then you move on to Donkey Kong Country 3. This may have not been the fan favorite when it comes to the original trilogy, but it's still an incredible game. And I don't want to go on and on about every boss fight, but in this one I want to say, they kept K. Rool's goofiness all throughout the trilogy. Because when he gets hit, and he does that flappy hands thing, it's hilarious, and it's such a K. Rool thing to do. So then we move on to the Nintendo 64, where games started entering the 3D realm. Mario did it, so naturally, Donkey Kong did it too. And in this game, you see K. Rool quite a bit. There are quite a bit of cutscenes where you see K. Rool, and then at the end of the game, you have a boxing match with him. So quite literally all through the 90s, if you want to throw in the Donkey Kong Country cartoon as well, all through the 90s, we had all this time to really get into this villain and start to get used to the fact that this is what happens. The main point of these games is to defeat K. Rool. But then something happened. Microsoft. You might be thinking, how does Microsoft come into play here? Well, Microsoft bought out Rare, and Rare was the company that was making all these games. Originally, I thought that K. Rool was owned by Rare, but people have told me that that's not the case. But what I will say is that I really do think that Rare getting bought out by Microsoft was the catalyst to K. Rool's disappearance. The timing was just too odd. It started to feel like Donkey Kong games were starting to stray away from what Rare did. Because even though they were trying to do wacky things with Donkey Kong, like with the Donkey Kong bongos, they didn't really have to get rid of the stuff that Rare created. But they were. It was almost like they wanted to create their own Donkey Kong world once Rare got bought out. But what made no sense was sometimes we would still see things from the Rare era in games made after Rare was bought out by Microsoft. And K. Rool himself would still sometimes make an appearance. But it was few and far between. And I think one of the most random ones was Mario Super Sluggers for the Wii. To see K. Rool in there was like, whoa, he's back? And they made him look a little different too. So it was confusing because we got new Donkey Kong Country games, but he was absent. But randomly he was in a Mario baseball game? A Mario game? That's where K. Rool makes another appearance? It was really confusing at the time. And to be honest, it still is. But something happened along the way. Years and years go by, and we have nothing from K. Rool. Radio silence. But then we got Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS. And this, in my opinion, is why K. Rool is back, and I think it's really what saved him. For Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS, we got what was called the Smash Bros. Fighter Ballot, where you could type in a character that you wanted to get added to Smash Bros.
I imagine that you may have some fighters in mind yourself. Can you think of anyone you'd like to see fight against characters like Mario or Link in Super Smash Bros.? Well, after discussing it with Smash Bros. Director Masahiro Sakurai, we've decided to open the new Smash Bros. Fighter Ballot on the Smash Bros. Microsite after this Nintendo Direct. With this poll, you can let us know directly which characters you'd like to see become the next new fighter in Super Smash Bros.
This is where the fans voiced their opinion. The fans of K. Rool didn't want him to be absent anymore. And we never got official numbers on where K. Rool was ranked on this list. But I have a feeling that he was pretty high, or at least high enough to get people's attention. Because I really do believe that the Smash Ballot is what got people at Nintendo to realize, oh my gosh, people love this guy. I think they underestimated how many fans K. Rool really had. But for Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS, all we ended up getting was a K. Rool Mii costume, which was bittersweet, because it was cool to see K. Rool sort of come back, but we wanted more. So then fast forward to Smash Bros. Ultimate, and it has us all talking again. Maybe K. Rool could get in here. Hopefully K. Rool joins the roster. And then during one of the directs, one that I did not get to see live and I still am a little bit upset about it, but it's fine, the screen starts shaking, and it goes to a reveal trailer. It shows villains of other series. The TV turns off. You see Donkey Kong in his treehouse with Diddy. And then again, we get another fake out, which I just realized talking about it now. I don't think this is why they did it, but I honestly wonder if they did a fake out because K. Rool is always doing fake outs. I don't really think so because K. Rool's not technically doing the fake out, but still, it's interesting. But you think it's K. Rool, but it's actually Dedede with a mask. He takes it off, he starts laughing, and then K. Rool comes in and freaking boom! I'm surprised Dedede's not dead. And there he is. King K. Rool comes aboard. What an amazing moment. All those years had gone by, and we barely got K. Rool anything. And now here he is, in his own reveal trailer, joining Smash Bros. We didn't think it could get any better than this. But it didn't take long for us to start going, well, if they did all of this for K. Rool, it's going to get fans to think that, well, K. Rool's got to be joining other things too, right? But it took all the way from 2018 to 2025 for us to finally get the grand return. I call it that because I think K. Rool joining Smash Ultimate was a grand return. But I call this the grand return because K. Rool finally got into a new Donkey Kong game. And my goodness, the way they did it. You're playing Donkey Kong Bonanza, and all of us were speculating before the game came out. Could he be in there? Could he be there? But you play the game, and you see what looks to be K. Rool's belly. And you're looking at it, and you're like, that's K. Rool's belly. It's gotta be. But it sounds so crazy. How could it be K. Rool's belly? And then Void Kong's running up, and then freaking boom! K. Rool punches Void Kong into oblivion. And there he is. King K. Rool, making his grand return. And he looks freaking awesome here too. And then you keep playing the game. Now all the old school stuff from Donkey Kong Country comes into play. You hear the classic noise. You see the classic enemies. And then the K. Rool fights. Oh my gosh, they're crazy. Because there's a fake out still. All of a sudden you're in New Donk City. You have all these signs saying K. Rool's back. This was for the fans. But you might be wondering, well, what was the point of the video? Didn't you mention something about unintentional magic in a bottle or lightning in a bottle? Whatever I said at the beginning of the video? This is the thing. I don't know if in my lifetime I'll experience something like this again. Because they didn't sit there and go, yeah, we'll take out K. Rool for a really long time and then we'll bring him back and there'll be a lot of fans of him and they'll be so happy. A lot of this, I think, was unintentional. I think they really wanted to shift away from the Rare era stuff with Donkey Kong. But us fans just wouldn't shut up about it. And I genuinely think that if the Smash ballot did not exist, maybe there could have been a chance that enough people talked about K. Rool and maybe it would have got to Nintendo and maybe they would have added him into Smash. I don't know. But I really do think that without the Smash ballot, we could still be living in a K. Rool-less world. I think the Smash ballot is what got them to realize that K. Rool had a ton of fans. And this is where the unintentional magic in a bottle or lightning in a bottle, I really don't remember what I said at the beginning of the video, comes into play. Because K. Rool was absent for so long. But there was enough games done so freaking well that a lot of us were so into K. Rool. We loved the whole Donkey Kong universe. But they started taking stuff away from it. Donkey Kong Country Returns and Tropical Freeze are great games, but they're not what we were expecting. Which isn't always a bad thing, but to totally shift away from everything from the Donkey Kong universe is a little odd. Mario tries new things, Zelda tries new things, but you still see familiar stuff in those games. To have almost all of Rare's stuff just stripped away from the Donkey Kong games was confusing for a bunch of us Donkey Kong fans. But I actually think this is what helped fuel the obsession. We loved K. Rool. And I can speak for myself that I think that his absence made me miss him more and made the anticipation of him coming back stronger and the hope of him coming back stronger. This is where it's unintentional. It feels like they wanted to shift away from the Rare era stuff, but unintentionally it made the obsession stronger. It made us want it more. So to have all those years of the Rare stuff gone, to all of a sudden getting a K Rool Mii costume, to then getting K Rool into Smash, it was like, oh my gosh, it's actually happening. K Rool is back. And then all the way from 2018 to 2025, King K Rool still hadn't made a new appearance. So again, it grew the obsession. Because getting him in Smash was awesome, but we wanted to see him in a new Donkey Kong game. But after what happened with Smash Bros, that's when I think they knew what they were doing. That's where I feel like they used his absence to their advantage. This is where some of it was intentional from Nintendo, because now they knew. Now they were aware of how much people love K Rool. Because in all those trailers for Donkey Kong Bonanza, there was nothing about K Rool. Nothing. They kept it a secret the entire time. And it's crazy they decided to do that too. They did that for the fans. Because if they had showed K Rool in any of those trailers, it would have got spread around. But they purposely chose not to, for the fans. That twist ending was spectacular. But if they had kind of spoiled it in a trailer, I don't think it would have hit the same. So they took something that they were unaware of. They were unaware of all these K Rool fans. And then when Smash Bros got them to realize that K Rool had a lot of fans, then they used it to their advantage. And they created a gaming experience with Donkey Kong Bonanza that I don't know if I'll have again. I'll never say never, but it's going to be a tough one to top. And I think what's so much fun about talking about this is that I don't think K Rool's done. I think we're going to be going through this hype thing and speculation through most of Donkey Kong's future now. That rumored Donkey Kong movie, whatever new game comes out, we're going to be thinking, is K Rool coming back again? So the K Rool hype cycle, I don't think is going anywhere. And for us K Rool obsessed, we have definitely been eating good. So thank you to those who made it to the end of the video and listened to this long story. I just wanted to talk about K Rool as a big K Rool fan. Let me know how much of a fan of K Rool you are in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this, feel free to leave a like, subscribe for future content, and until next time, I'll see you all later. Take care, everyone.